special meeting to order. We have the agenda before us. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance in our regular meeting, and I'm gonna turn it over to Rob.
Okay, thanks for coming. We'll run through these as efficiently as we can. I know John asked me to make a regular update from here forward on the regular agenda, so hopefully this will be the last time just to catch all up. Having said that, as you see, there are some things you guys are gonna have to consider tonight, and other things you can just chew on and come back to us with as you have time. So the first one is parking. I think we know that we're working on alternative parking scenarios that will be beneficial for the amphitheater, the plaza, etc. I would call those ongoing, I think, based on need, availability, and fit. So we'll leave that at that if there's no further questions. I did put risers in there. These are in no particular order, by the way. We were trying to jot down a list to make sure anything that we have talked about we can bring up to you. It was suggested that we consider a couple sets of drum risers for the stage as a part of the performances. It's pretty standard from what we're being told. They can be made for as cheaply as $2,500 per riser locally, which beats the retail price, or going out to a specific vendor for them. Our programming gentleman, Bill Grading, has access to this person, the ability to turn those around if that's something that we would want to move forward with down the road. That is not something we need a decision on tonight.
But fairly soon.
What type of material?
Casters, I forget what he said the type of material was.
Steel, wood, plastic.
Probably a combination of
I think
steel
the-
and wood, I'm gonna guess.
So, we do plan on engaging volunteers, anywhere from NHS or booster clubs or fine arts students, potentially even if Rotary would be available to do some things. As we get a little closer and have an understanding of what the need is, we'll be reaching out to those folks as we move forward. I wanted to give you just a quick update on programming. He is working through negotiations for Michael Evans, who is a Michael Bublé tribute artist, for the hard launch, the initial launch on August 10th. If for some reason that would not work out to be advantageous to the township, he's willing to pivot to Michael Cavanaugh, who's a Northeast Ohio native, who does a Billy Joel, Elton John tribute set. So of the same ilk, of the same type of music, both are really good options. So as we get a little closer with what that contract is and what it looks like, he'll circle back, and obviously we'll give you those updates as
Is
we
that something we're expecting, working through sponsorship on
Yes,
those, or is
100%.
that something?
That
Is
is a
any
part
of
of
this where
that.
the township's gonna help front to kick it off?
I think his plan, and we'll get into that when we go over the budget for 23-24, but to hit your question from a general standpoint, his plan is to have the shows covered by sponsorship. Okay? I'll dive deeper into that as we get into the programming piece of it. The other one is we had to do some finagling, and we are moving away from the Stark Park Summer Serenade because there was a gap in their funding with their grant to be able to cover the total cost of what the symphony would, to now doing the shootouts, which is the Ryan Humbert Band, who's very good, local.
There's pretty big, he just played on the Grand Ole Opry.
That's what I said.
Yeah, they're big. I'm just saying he's a local, and he's a local native. Very big. Cost, actually, considering how big he is, would be about a third of what it would cost us to bring the symphony in.
Just as a side note, I'm gonna buy seats for you and Jenna that evening, because I know it's your favorite genre. He plays country music, so you gotta wear a cowboy hat.
Don't worry, we'll be pivoting away from that soon. Having said, no, I'm kidding. I'm very excited. Ryan's a good guy. We've already played different genres. He's as good as it gets, and he's really starting to blow up, so it'd be fun to have him. He may even do the sound check for us, the soft opening on the 3rd, and bring like a 5-piece group with him so we can test the mics and the different settings and all those things that I don't understand anything about when it comes to audio-visual equipment. So we're working through some of those things. I know that he's working to book like an Outback Ray, which is a children's animal programming, working with North Canton Y to produce some yoga in the park for the fall, just to get us a soft launch, get people familiar with what we're looking to do in this park for a full schedule in 2024. Again, as things come to fruition, we'll update you as a part of the normal updates from here forward. Budget. So the budget is, and I had these as a part of the resolution, so you can kind of view them and go through them and understand what they are. moving forward for 23 and potentially 24. So we'll hit those resolutions. But ultimately, what he's hoping to do, Scott, since you mentioned it, is for 2023, have the shows covered in totality as far as the cost of the talent and the sound tech and if there's any ancillary needs, like he mentioned temporary lighting for certain shows that you could bring in, you wouldn't have to pay for it because not all shows require them and things of that nature. If I'm missing anything, guys, let me know. Just some of the ancillary needs. I can't remember everything off the top of my
I
head.
didn't think it was gonna be 100% covered.
No, he's looking to have it covered.
But you look at the expenses and income piece, and it says expenses 7,500, income 5,000. I mean, that's a,
And he said that. He said there's always a forecast being lower than what his goal would be.
Well, I think he's always keeping out, John, am I wrong, is he always keeping out the sound piece?
Tech.
That, the sound tech that he'd like to get sponsored, but that would essentially be on us. I think that's what that 2,500 is.
No, I think how that does, if somebody steps up and says, I wanna sponsor the Goo Goo Dolls, you know, he basically say, okay, here's what it's gonna cost you, da, 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 sound guy this, and then on and on and on. And that whole tab would be in that sponsorship. That's the way I
That's the
understood
way I
it.
understood it too, is
Okay.
he breaks it out line by line. He gives you a general forecast of if the worst case scenario happens and then what he hopes to cover anyway. So,
He may do that just as a matter of doing all that in his head to a point where he says, okay, I know I'm getting these guys for $1,000. Sound guy's gonna be 500. I gotta have some food for him. I gotta do this. Okay, it's gonna cost you $3,000.
Yeah.
So he included every expense, including what the band was gonna get as a part of that production. Is that?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Travel included, et
Yeah,
cetera.
yeah, whatever the expenses would be.
That is correct. So having said all that, in the budget for 2024, we'll go over in more detail. I know John, Lisa, and I have had some conversation about it, so there's gonna be some sticker shock, but we had some ideas I think we wanna go over before we would even,
Well, there's sticker shock if there's no sponsorships.
I understand.
Yeah.
But my point being, I think some of that initial number even could drop too. But we'll get into that when we get into those specific agenda items. I'm just literally going over the updates to highlight some of the things that we're doing. Some of these are their own agenda items, so I won't spend a lot of the time right now, simply because I know we're coming back to them as a part of the agenda, in formal fashion. The website, as you can see, it's up on the wall. We're gonna go through it. When it comes time for the resolution, for its contents, what he's basically thinking is, as you see now, there's the rendering, which we've all seen the virtual tour, at some point or another. What he'd like to do, I know that some of Chief's folks are working on some photography, put a kind of a time-lapse video together, to show the progress in the construction of the amphitheater and kind of show what it is. Obviously, the home page would be populated with our information and things of that nature. You can see there would be a way to connect with email updates and newsletter updates moving forward. At the bottom there, you can subscribe at your own discretion. The calendar would populate with the types of events, and this is simply a mock-up, again, nothing's confirmed yet, but just to give you an idea, kind of what the event would be for that day, a general synopsis. In the event of the concert, for example, what he's hoping to do once we have concerts locked in is provide clips via a YouTube channel or something like that somebody can actually click on and get a taste of what type of performance that would be, so that they can have a fairly knowledgeable idea of what they would be coming to do and see, and so on and so forth. Again, this is a mock-up, this is not live yet, it's just to discuss kind of what the layout would be. You can see the list, the month, the day here. None of these are overly populated yet, they're just trying to get the bones and the stuff up, so as we move forward and start locking stuff in, you guys have an idea if this is something you like, if it's not something you like, if it's something you want to go with, if you understand the general contents are okay. I'm going to go back just so that we can show you the different things. we'll have things in here about the venue, what it is. Obviously, you'll see a calendar event. The other button he's looking to add into some of this is frequently asked questions about the venue, like be prepared. Parking on site might be tough, but here's some ancillary options for you. For example, if you went to Blossom or something and they said, we don't allow anything but clear bags in, or whatever those cases may be. Those types of particulars as we delve down. Our procedures and policies that we passed a couple of weeks ago will be up there. And then the info button, if you can see there, I'm highlighting, he'd like that to be kind of what's over at the square, sponsors with the square, kind of cross-promoting the vendors with their logo and a link to their, whatever, it be it social media or whatever, and then from theirs back to this site. So it's kind of a one-stop shop no matter where you go. You can get an idea of the venue, the surrounding area, again, the parking, etc. And then if you've got questions, you're obviously your contact button. Generally speaking, now this can add, delete, subtract, tweak as we go. It's obviously a living, breathing organism to a certain extent, but the general format is to be sleek, simple, a couple clicks, and keep people moving so that they keep their interest up and stay connected with what we're doing. So, again, we can go over some specifics as we get into the agenda item with a specific resolution if there's something you want to do, if you want to adopt, not adopt with certain changes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we just want to show you. The logo on here, again, is just to mock it up. We have black and white logos that go over here in a little bit. It was just simply to get something on the page to mock up so you can see generally how the web page would flow. The other thing he's talking is at the banner on the bottom, having the township black and white sunburst, just so that every time they click on a page, they understand that this is a township operated venue, this is a township operated facility, and it's branded accordingly. Okay? We'll continue to circle back to that stuff. We talked the idea about Nixle with weather notifications, promoting it on the website, and just give alert info of weather delay, cancellation, date to be made up, et cetera, that we can push out in real time to get to people, notwithstanding, I know the flag system chief's coming up with and things of that nature to alert of incoming weather, severe weather, go to your cars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Rain dates, what he's looking at to do now is, again, Nick's on the website, but he's looking to post a rain date, if we at all can, the following evening or 2 evenings to capitalize on the momentum of the original date, keep the stock that the restaurants would have ordered to accommodate for these types of large events, allow them to mobilize their staffing in a way that keeps them engaged as well as keep us and the people that would come over to the venue kind of on the same general target if it's not the bullseye of the date based on weather. So he's working those out with some of the contract negotiations with some of the events as he goes through. We have a safety team meeting scheduled for June 6th with all department heads, representation from the sheriff's office, and the team to kind of understand logistics, operations, safety protocols, the emergency action plans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll be following up after that initial meeting with subsequent meetings to make sure that we've done the run-throughs ahead of the events. So we are thinking of that. That was a suggestion Chief came to us with a couple months ago, and when we met with Bill, John, 2-3 weeks ago, we had kind of set the date, and once we were confirmed, we circled back to the department heads, and everybody's already gotten back saying that they're certainly available and willing. So that's a good thing for us. The sponsorship pitch deck, we just got this after late yesterday, early this morning. I printed it out. This is a template. Again, he'll be continuing to add to this and tweak this and add specificity to it. But generally speaking, he'd like to put a slide deck together that we can A, populate the website with, B, put in the hands of virtually everybody in the township, so that if anybody comes up with any information or calls in or calls you or stops you in the street or you think of anybody, we all have the ability to forward a sponsorship deck forward to continue to engage people to help with that effort.
Well, I mean, I take there's some type of limitations language that'll be supporting this. Like
In regards to,
like,
I'm not understanding the question.
the local KKK chapter says.
Oh, yes, I think we put that in some of our
All of that stuff
policies
too.
and procedures
All of a
too.
sudden, there's a new adult-oriented Plain Township business that chooses to
Right.
want to sponsor, like,
And I think we even put some of that language in those policies, procedures, and protocols that we passed already to stick
I
to
just-
that, yeah.
And I
But
think
I
this is
know
where
it's in
he
that,
sits
but-
down with people too.
but when
Oh,
this
yeah.
goes to somebody,
Having a
oh,
conversation.
hey, it doesn't say anywhere here. Well,
It's in
we
our
actually
policies
got
and
this other.
procedures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
but
if we
need to
forward
still
those
please
with-
reference that.
Yeah.
Please
Oh,
see
yeah,
policies and
for
procedures
sure.
for additional applicable details. So
Or we'll
these-
have our section.
Just a reference.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an easy do.
So let me just throw something real quick. So when you start looking at what these sponsorships offer, as you look at some of these bullet points, those are the things that we're taking into consideration, because if we're gonna offer up 4 front of stage passes, 2 VIP parking passes, obviously, we gotta have logistics for that. So whatever that is, whether it's seating or, somebody out here, reading us, whatever method we come up with to, show that they have that VIP parking.
We
That
could,
type of-
we could create passes that
Absolutely.
we give out, and then we will need somebody in the lot.
But
Yeah.
those are all
It
issues
is
that,
logistics.
yeah. Okay, Rob.
No, we're good with that, I'll move on to just construction, we again met today. There is a delay in receiving some of those tension rods to put the roof up and things of that nature that,
They think it'll be done in about 3 weeks.
that's the
what
latest
I
email
got
we got
today.
is about 4 o'clock this
Yeah.
afternoon.
So I
how's that
think
impact
we're on
the overall
time.
schedule?
It
Close.
does, yeah, it makes it close, but
Is Pavel still willing to get on a plane and go get the stuff if
There-
he has to? That's what he's,
He,
that's what he said before, and
well, I don't know if they got snookered. I don't know what really happened, but the people here in the United States told them that they could get it faster if they got it from this other company that was coming from England. So they said, all right, let's do that, and we still haven't been able to get it.
as of 4 o'clock today, though, he thought he would meet the June 21st deadline.
Yeah.
But
the
we
steel
do have our
company, the steel
architect
sub, yeah.
is asking for weekly breakdowns now to see how close we are to target, because again, after the 21st, there can be liquidated
The
damages.
steel basically is what's holding up the project right now. Because they're to the point where they can only do so many things around that.
But we did get an email where they thought they'd have it done in 3 weeks. Did you get that?
Okay.
It came from Justin Ford,
Yeah.
so logos, well, again, there's 4 in here to look at, potentially make a decision on with an agenda item. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, we did get them to design some stuff. We've talked on and off about apparel. I know when we met, not this today, a week ago, there was talk about them being able to come out with a really nice professional design, and then once the board approves said design, I can get it up to the lead at a really nice rate and price and turnaround time for the apparel. They've always been very good, used us as a priority both with the departments as well as the programming orders and for what we would need. I know that they would turn it around quick enough for us. But just as those things start moving forward and we start bringing those to you, that's a consideration so that everybody back here working that night understands, obviously chief and the fire department stands out with what they wear, and the guys helping with traffic understand what they wear, but the general folks inside the facility will be wearing the same shirts, clearly marked, and be able to get people to where they need to go, or at least assist them from the start. Door software, AKA the green room back here, we just did this at Diamond, it's working out fantastically, I can't tell you. It is a hardware, they use it to start county office building. You can program temporary codes in, there are master codes you can program in. What they're eventually going to do, once the amphitheater's up and they've programmed the restrooms and the back doors in here, anybody here with their key fob or their ID card, or what they use to access this building, can access the store. The good news is, nobody that doesn't already have access will have access. But you don't need the same person on site 24/7 to get somebody where they need to go to and from. And if there was something that came up, an emergency, tornado blew through, somebody close could get them into a building safely, whatever the case may be. But it is, we've used it, Laura and I have trained on it, it is as easy as a day is long to program the door accordingly for an event or an evening. It does lock every time you leave, so you're just simply typing the code in every time you go. So there's no unfettered access to the building at any time. Okay, so I wanted to be clear about that. You passed those resolutions, I wanted you to know the hardware is in, the software is actually in and working great at Diamond. The same software will be installed here, and from the same computer app web access, anybody trained on the system can access it to get it done. So it'll just be essentially adding to a menu that we already have. Okay. The calendar update, like I told you guys before, some of these may be a little redundant, so I'm not going to bore you with it. The calendar update is they're looking to do a couple shows in August, something in September, and I know that Royal Docks is talking very heavily about hosting their Octoberfest and paying for the talent and the performances back here and things of that nature, and the things that come with it. A soft launch, we talked about some of the day programming for a soft launch, so people get the idea of where we're at, what we're doing. Of course, Winterfest, et cetera, and then launch into a full calendar in 2024. The calendar, as we get to the agenda, I want to go over now just so you're thinking about it. He proposed a weekly series. I know when I talked to John and Lisa individually, I think the consensus is we felt more comfortable about a bi-weekly series or a twice-a-month concert series. It keeps the cost in check, but it also gives us a chance to kind of walk before we run. See how we do with sponsorship, see how we do with execution, work out the kinks in a way that we can manage both the expectation of the customer and ourselves accordingly, and then grow as we grow. That's the thought process that we'll be looking over. So again, you'll see probably a full calendar that was proposed. If you chose to go with a bi-monthly twice a month thought process, we can adjust that and say pass with the thought of a concert series being twice a month as opposed to.
Yeah, because unlike other facilities, we're starting with just a couple months, which I like that we don't, and then, you know, I think we gotta ease into it before we're thrown into it, to see what works, where we need help, get our feet wet.
The thought was
Yeah,
doing everything we do to the best of our ability without trying to just
yeah,
MacGyver everything together to get it in.
yeah. I like bi-monthly, twice a month.
I'm a big fan of that.
I don't care if it's first and third, second and fourth, however the board wants to. I think it just should be, keep a pattern, if it's the first and fourth Thursday or second and third, just so people know.
What to
But
expect.
I think that works better for us.
Yeah, so, you know, we can look at those, and the idea would be they landed on Thursdays as a concert day. It works for the plaza. I know Grant set in on a couple of these meetings. It fits into a hole in scheduling at other places. It allows us to kind of create our own identity with this concert, and what it's gonna be and why it's gonna be, and et cetera, and promote it accordingly. We kind of landed on Thursdays because we found a sweet spot that it's not as heavily promoted in other areas, and when you're talking about getting artists and talent in to perform those based on radius requirements and routing requirements, you tend to get them at a more discounted rate because they're going to be playing a show on a Friday or a Saturday. The radius rate that he's put in the contract is they can't play within, I think it's 145 miles of the venue for a certain amount of time before or after that, so that it's kind of an exclusive to our venue. And the routing is such that he's trying to route them either in between dates or on their way to dates, so it's a little cheaper for us. They've got dates they're booking, it gives them a chance to play, and it allows us the opportunity to book really high-end talent for not as high-end cost.
That's awesome.
Did I miss anything with that, guys? Is that pretty close?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that he looks at that angle.
The chairs.
The question will be though, it sounds good. On the front end, you can monitor it. On the back end, who's gonna enforce it? Because policy's only worth as much as
I don't
how
know
it's
if
gonna
the
be
contract
enforced.
enforces it, but who finds that
But that's-
out? You know what
but
I
that's
mean?
what I'm
If
saying.
somebody's
You see it,
148
oh,
miles
hey,
away, yeah, we're not gonna know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know, John?
No, but it's like he says, it's highly unlikely that within that range, anybody's gonna draw from somebody else.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying, typical
Yeah.
policies out there, it gives us warm feel good, but really, it's a false pretense after the fact, so. Go ahead. I just,
So we are at the chair, John mentioned chairs for VIP sponsors. Obviously, we have some here, but if we get the sponsorship he's looking at, we're looking at potentially 150, 200 chairs at some point. We may wanna look at purchasing those with the idea that if we get the sponsorships, or as we get them would be a better way to put that, you're essentially,
Because
they're
people can
paying
buy
for
them
those chairs,
though,
right?
or they can buy a package where they want front seat at every concert and it comes out to whatever.
Right.
So I'm sure we will have to get those chairs.
Well, absolutely.
would we look at branding those chairs, cause Lord only knows outside how that stuff could.
I'm sure we could.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
well,
Yeah,
that's,
It's one
That's a
more.
good idea.
that's kind
touch
of
point.
one of
We
the
did-
things that we talked about logistically. I mean, we gotta get them,
Yeah.
we gotta store them, we gotta figure out how they're gonna be secured. I mean,
I like
all that will go into when we start looking at, okay, how many do we need? And,
Mhm,
you know, if all these sponsorships start flooding in,
yeah.
And at a certain point, just because, hey, you could get 300 chairs this way, you still want to keep the number tight because it creates exclusivity.
That's
which
what
if-
he said.
If
He's
nothing else,
keep
it's
it
gonna
tight.
drive the value up. Okay, hey,
Yeah,
you want one of these seats? It's $40 instead of 25.
and there's seats like
'Cause
this.
that's not prohibiting anybody from
No.
coming. You can sit.
But don't you think on the back of these types of seats, you could
Well, I was just
sticker?
gonna say that there's a sticker we use for the, even the
The
floors
logos.
at Diamond during the pandemic that don't wear off with the wear and tear. You actually have to physically use a certain type of,
Those exact seats, but you know what I
you
mean?
know,
the back
wash to
part.
get them off, but that's the type of sticker you have on those types of materials that will hold up to even weather. So, yeah, those are easily done, I think it's a matter of putting stickers on and keep moving, so. And I have it marked down to look into what the cost for basically 150, badge stickers would be. You know, about 8 inches, 12 inches in diameter, so we can see it.
Look at the golf tournaments, like Augusta, it's a folding chair.
Yeah.
I mean, not folding,
That-
but like a lawn chair, and it actually says Augusta National, and you have to use that chair, that's why they all match.
Yeah,
But that might be easier to store than hard chair, I don't know if they're comfortable
yeah,
But,
if they
you know,
fold and you
yeah,
have
you-
less space, yeah.
though. I'm not sure, but I don't know what
It's
the
not like
cost
they're
is.
sitting in there for 8 hours.
Or that they're gonna sit there the whole
Better
time.
be up by beer and food.
Yeah. So we can look for different options to make that feasible too. Green room catering, I know we're gonna be aggressive with plaza sponsorships to cater the talent in the green room. I think they'll see the ROI in real form, in an immediate sense, I think that's pretty easy to do. Playground and playground fencing, it has been ordered. We got notification this morning and I reached out in the middle of the meeting to our playground rep that we can start installing playground as early as, they said 2 weeks, I said mid-May to be safe with, some of the delays. The fencing has been ordered based on the resolution we passed at last meeting. It is an aluminum, but a wrought iron look. The aluminum just holds up better to weathering, it's actually less expensive, and it's a little more durable. So it gives the look you want of that wrought iron, pretty fencing, it just isn't, it doesn't weather as
And
easy.
if any kids drive them.
So, staff parking, I think, Lisa, didn't we, JP, you're gonna tell me this one too. I
Yep,
think we
road
talked-
department.
Road department through the fence, you can
Mhm.
walk through the fence and, it helps out tremendously. We appreciate that. Bill's talking about the potentiality of, maybe getting somebody to take some professional pics at some of the events for 2023 to help populate the website and brand the type of, venue and
Promote
event that we're,
2024.
yeah, that we're hosting and promote the following year, just so people get an idea of to what the standard is that we're producing.
What about the photography club at the high school?
I think we're open to any and all, just so long as it's
Those
done
are
in a
probably for
professional
24
manner. Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
Yeah, community service.
100%. We haven't landed on specificity of who, when, and where, just the thoughts there to produce some professional looking.
so it's not really necessary, but some places do it. They do it for their,
I think you mentioned Mentor's,
yes,
the one.
yeah, there are
Yeah,
places
they're
that do
class
do it.
act, yeah.
We talked about the acts, the radius, the ideas of the sponsorship and promoting quality versus quantity. So I won't beat a dead horse after we've already gone over a lot of that. The events outside of obviously the concert series or the day programming are like the Doctoberfest or the Holiday at the Square or 720 on the outside of the venue and things of that nature that may be a partner venture or a partnered venture that we are taking on all the cost for, or the onus for finding sponsorship for, but would be a positive event and activity back in the amphitheater. Staffing needs, we're gonna look at all angles from safety to parking to in-venue needs, inventory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The VIP setup, and as we start identifying those and we start meeting with our teams, we'll come up with what that looks like as we get into it. The first one, or first couple may even be all hands on deck just to get a positive reaction to the venues open. And then as we see what the real need is, we can start scaling back to a definite but not as heavy crew.
We're here to help.
So, yeah, we'll keep you posted just based on as we experience it and know kind of what's working and what isn't and what's needed. Signage, I know, John, you brought this up. I have a note that we talked about, general rules of the facility, general policies of the facility and usage, directional signage, where and what type of sponsorship signage we'd like to put up so that, we do it in a dignified way that doesn't take away from the aesthetic of the venue, but obviously promotes the sponsor for their investment in that show or event or season, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, the parking and ancillary parking signs based on whatever we're able to work out with logistics for that. But they are on our radar. We will continue to monitor as we go. I don't have definite answers for what all that looks like, so I'm just bringing it to your attention that we are discussing. We just haven't come up with what that looks like yet, or even the number yet. So if you have, again, these are things that you're chewing on. You say, hey, I was thinking about this. Have you thought of restroom over here, handicapped and family, whatever? Great, send it our way, because if we didn't think about it, we'll certainly put it on the list. Soft opening is scheduled for the 3rd. I mentioned it might even be Ryan Humbert in the shootouts just as a soft launch to test the equipment, test the stage, whatever comes with that. And we'll keep you posted as it goes. Fire pit, furniture and picnic tables.
Grant bought the fire pit furniture. I think
Okay.
you stepped out at that time and
I
worked
probably
with North Coast Factory Direct. It's the outdoor, it's the Adirondack chairs, but not the ones that go so deep people can't get out of. And it's that material that can sit outside and
Like
it's
the
a
tractor.
light.
Doesn't work real nice for the sheriff, for the folks who get too inebriated.
Right.
Well, there's one, there's.
Yeah, can't get out. So he
They're
did.
asleep.
In fact, North Coast Factory Direct gave a little bit of a discount, but he bought those. So we'll just have to get picnic tables.
That's
Similar
great.
in nature,
Again,
yeah.
continued partnership there.
Landscaping, I think we talked about keeping the landscaping relatively simple so we can A, grass to grow, and B, viable, not just for this year, but moving forward. I mean, we've talked even so far as to limiting events over the winter, because the grass is still gonna be fragile in its first year. You don't wanna.
There
let
won't be
extra
grass on the,
traffic
or
and
events
stuff.
on the grass in the winter.
I should say, this is one of those things, I'm assuming part of the strategy or plan is to have a very aggressive turf growth.
Hydro
Here,
seeded in particular, we have been told as of this morning that their goal is to get it in. As far as the next 3 weeks go, that deadline, so it has that full time to grow, germinate, root, so however you wanna
Because
word
you
it.
figure May to August is not that
No.
long, especially to get a
No,
healthy.
John's taled about that for a while.
They're
Yeah.
talking, trying to have it in by the latter part of May. It gives it 2 good months if the weather cooperates to keep it becoming hardy. We may have to pay attention to how we water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we
say,
did.
do we have
We
a
did.
water?
That's, if we get no rain, we're gonna have no choices, because otherwise,
The tanker.
historically, May and June have been pretty wet, but July starts drying out anyway, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on it.
We have that tank
Yeah,
that goes in the back of the dome
Yeah,
with a
that would be
hose
great.
that we watered all those bridges and stuff with.
that'd be
So,
awesome. We'll touch base
Yeah.
As we see what's going on, as
it's
you
in
know.
the garage.
I think we mentioned, they talked about use of the sound tech at every show, to make sure that it's produced properly.
None of us have that skill.
I know.
That's something that has to be hired out. We don't. And the equipment we're talking about, it's different if somebody just needs a mic but setting up, taking inventory, storing it correctly.
I mean, I don't know if anything can make a country music sound good, but we'll give it a shot with the sound. I'm just saying that because Scott's in there.
Shots fired. I think I've got an exact topic.
I circled it.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't
We were
resist.
both at the Tippit Rock concert, you had
Oh,
better
no,
seats.
thank you. I'm busy. The crosswalk we had talked about based on what the need was, based on whatever property was able to be
That's
secured.
gonna change, well,
and
yep,
it's- But it's just,
keep those
it's,
conversations open, you're absolutely right,
yeah.
potentially.
Draggy fence, John, that was you.
Yeah, we know he's putting the fence up, we just don't know what style, what,
Looks like.
you know, I just hope he doesn't just plant a fence there, because everybody's gonna be staring at it.
That's when we get
So
trees down.
if that happens, we gotta figure out
Fence on the other side.
what kind of bushes or trees or something we wanna.
She's right, we could put a nice fence on the other side.
Well, I thought of that also.
Did you? Yeah.
Not only did I think of that, I also thought, maybe we should approach him if he is, and say, we'll split it, but we'll
Pick the
decide
fence.
what we want to have. Cause I'm
It could be
I'm
a
already,
retaining fence, like with holes in it, paint on one.
The
Sandlot fence.
yeah. I just don't know.
I
But,
relegate.
but
John, you can,
the word on the street is that he's
He
gonna
is.
put a fence up.
Well, he's for sure putting a fence.
Yeah,
See, that was involved with that sewer project.
yeah,
So we
exactly.
got the markers out there.
Yep. So, you know, I mean, we may have to throw in a bunch of small pine trees or something,
yeah,
I don't know.
that's okay.
They can't be over 8 feet high.
You know what, zoning,
Is it
you
a
just
tree or a
consider
bush?
something
Yeah,
else.
shrubbery.
Well, we're no longer, we're not,
Yeah.
for the record, we're no longer talking about fencing,
Yeah.
hedges,
Yeah, now
or
we're
shrubs.
talking
We're talking
landscape.
trees, we're talking landscape. So-
One or the other.
Yeah.
Ornamental tree.
That's it.
So, John put this on here, but Bill had spoken to us, I think it was last week, John, right? That
Yeah.
about processing, credit cards, checks, and possibly our current usage of Stripe for sponsorships, to make it easy on sponsors giving money, especially large donations of money.
And then how we set up our accounts in finance, you know, where
To
that
accept those
goes
sponsorships,
into,
yeah.
and all of that, whatever we need to do there.
Rob, don't forget, we're charged a percentage off that.
Right.
Yeah, we know,
Okay.
we have that built in as a
Okay.
fee on everything.
Same with Team Sideline Act, we build in a fee to it. And then, John, you have parks, other,
Oh, yeah. So is this officially gonna be a park? I think we need to be thinking about,
I think it's a
Yeah.
recreational area, it certainly presents part of it. It's been quite some time, but, and I thought we bounced around potentially how you would name
Name
it,
it.
Yeah.
whether it's
yeah,
Centennial Park or community, I'm just.
oh, absolutely.
Whatever.
I'm just thinking in terms of creating the perception that it is a park.
Yeah, with the Dora.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the only issue is, but it's a separate type of, because there is a playground, there's the restroom that's gonna be open, there's day programming, so is it a park or is it a recreational area?
And technically,
There's the Dora.
we could have alcohol in any of the parks with a proper permit, fenced area, so in technicality, could technically
well,
do it.
plus, I mean, we are gonna have a lot
That
of
is true. We
park
actually talked about
employees
that.
spending a lot of time there.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Yeah, cause that's, what's that?
WWF,
Yeah,
Worldwide Wrestling,
Yeah.
that'll be on Thursdays in the fall.
Make my in-ring debut.
Yeah, the park is maintaining it, but, and at events, it's all hands on deck, this can't be parked all the
Well,
time.
and Jackson treats theirs as part of park, just not.
They do.
what's
Where-
built into
Sure.
the park, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we don't classify it as a park, what else would we realistically,
If you want my opinion, if it's got a playground and a
It's a park.
restroom that's open and an open gathering space and gazebos, which are essentially the shade structures, it takes on the qualities of a park.
Well, and, I mean, you figure there are gonna be people that are gonna use it for that on days that there's nothing going on, but they're gonna come out here, they're gonna have kids with them, they're gonna go over. and,
We're
you know.
having park programming there that used to be in our parks
Yeah.
with the Y and
well,
it's-
and that could be the silver sneakers. and all
Silver
that.
Sneakers is
Yep.
gonna move out there and, you know, the Parkinson's class, and we're gonna have kids you know,
Sure.
we just need a name.
Youngstown, I'm just looking at Youngstown.
Yeah.
See, but.
I
they're
sent
just
you
called-
that list of names,
Yeah,
Now we're getting to it.
everybody's gonna call it the Oakwood Amphitheater, Plain Township Amphitheater in Oakwood. Not that we have to name it that, but that,
Keep it
until it has a name,
Yeah.
that's
The
what they're gonna call it,
Yeah.
until it has a name. The sooner you
You
name it,
could, you
then
could
the,
call it
then
Amphitheater
the
Park,
better.
call it the Amp. I
Right,
like
the sooner
that.
you name it, then the more people will be out of that at
And we
Oakwood
need-
Square.
But we need to be out of the gates.
Yes.
We can't allow, cause.
Yeah, you
as
don't
soon
wanna
as
own
somebody
it
gets
without the
denied,
name.
Yeah.
Cause then it's stuck,
You can-
Drake Park or something.
Yeah.
and now you're an exact.
Yeah, for $1 million.
I mean, honestly, if a business come along and said, hey, I'll pay you $250,000 for naming rights for 5 years or 10 years, that's absolutely a for sale
Yeah,
consideration
and
on
that
my
happened
end.
to Jackson after the fact,
25 grand?
because, you know, it was North Park, and now
You get-
it's,
you
you
get
know, the
three
Nash Family
shows.
Amphitheater.
That's 3 shows that you don't have to even blink an eye.
But it would be nice for the website to have the name of the park.
So is it, so then it's the Plain Township Amphitheater, a community park, at Centennial Park, at
Big Centennial.
Yeah,
Plain Township Amphitheater, at Historic Oakwood Park.
The Oak. Yeah.
the Oak,
Well, I think what helps us too is the website does allow us to
Yeah.
brand it early and often. You know,
but
we
it's
can,
gotta happen soon.
I agree, but we can come up with that name and whatever that is, the venue now becomes whatever that name is, and now it's branded from the get-go, and we're controlling the messaging.
Well, do you wanna do a work session with brainstorming of names, would that help?
Let's do some email searches first, cause I know
Alright.
we've shared emails.
Everybody
on
had
this.
sent
I think I
names.
actually have some of
You have
those
all of
already
them?
in search, yeah.
Alright,
Let's do that, that's at least a foundational starting point, and we can do a work session where we
you're
go,
down here last.
hey, here's our top 3 or 5, the rest of these are out for whatever
And,
reason.
and I'm,
And we
I'm
can
almost
launch the
positive you said
website
yours, Denise, but I
initially
got some
soft
too.
without the name, cause I know he wants to get it up there, we do too.
I'm sure between us, we can search and find, so
Yeah,
I'm sure we have
find
some,
that.
yeah. That's not a problem. And then the last thing John mentioned, which is a great idea, is producing a parking map, so once we know what that looks like and where ancillary parking is, to help streamline some of that conversation and the
On the
expectation.
website,
On the website,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
and Nixle on the website would be good,
Right.
we talked about that.
Yeah, Nixle, we mentioned that. So I think with the amphitheater updates, we're trying to cover the programming, which is 1, 2, A, and B.
Why don't you present resolutions?
That's where I'm at right now.
Alright,
Is 3A would be to adopt, or accept, excuse me, I said that wrong, to accept the 2023 amphitheater budget projection as attached, which is what we kind of glossed over in the beginning. A soft launch, a couple of day programs, and a couple of shows to get us into,
I'm gonna move on, amphitheater 3A budget projection.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
and then 2024 would be 3B, and I know we talked about as opposed to the weekly, twice, you know, accept the budget maybe as proposed with 2 concerts a month as opposed to 4.
Also move on, 3B amphitheater 2024.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? We can always add more if we have to.
Right.
It is
It's
just a
easier to do it
projection.
that way than it is to try to play catch-up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So,
Pass it.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
projection.
And
You gotta roll call.
yeah, anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
yes,
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thanks. Then number 4 would be the amphitheater website, which we
Yeah.
delved into here.
so moved. We'll
Second.
get it, technically should motion and then get it to discussion.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Are you comfortable with the general layout and contents of?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And then the final, you'll see attached are the amphitheater black and white logos.
I will so move on the amphitheater
And I will
logos.
second for discussion. Discussion.
side and then circle it to make
I'll
sure?
circle it, and then we'll say, top left.
Which one pops?
Right.
See, honestly, to me, depending upon the color backdrop, you should choose, there should be two. Just white on dark colors versus black on dark colors.
I think what he's
As
giving
long
you
as
is
it's the
the
same
rendering.
exact design, yeah.
He's giving you the rendering of what it would look like with either a black or a white design. It's the same thing at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, do we know the color of shirts, or is it?
We have it.
Okay.
I see that as something that could have.
I think he's just showing you the general design of a two-color design.
Yeah, I think he's just wanting more so, which one do you want to go on most of the
And you'd use the dark or light?
paperwork slash?
Oh, paperwork too.
Yeah, because,
So really, it's left or right, it would just be depending upon what the
No,
background
because
is.
the color combinations.
Oh, okay.
They weren't clear.
So they're deciding right side or left side?
Correct.
I would break the stalemate at least for discussion, I'll say the left side.
well, I personally like the left side. I like the darker stuff on white paper, because I think that pops.
Yeah.
I think that dark on white paper jumps out.
Mhm.
See, there's
I think the
there's
lines
what
are-
the white would look like on a dark.
Banner.
I just feel the lines are a little more
Green.
I think they pop out.
Accentuating,
That's
yeah.
right, I think
This
they
one doesn't
pop
look
out
like
a
an
little more.
amphitheater to me.
It's
That
like a side.
white one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shooting out to the side.
Yeah,
And chances are, the shirts will be bright colors because you want people to see it in the audience, like the safety yellow, safety green.
Safety orange.
Safety
Yeah,
orange.
light blue, yeah.
Mhm.
I think at that point, we pretty much just, if we decide on both of those, it's just dependent on.
It's
what
gonna,
colors
yeah,
are gonna go
that's
on.
why they basically are looking at the layout with a two-color,
Yeah.
because it'll depend on the color of whatever
Yeah.
you're putting it on as to which one you're using.
All right, so is the consensus left side?
Well,
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yeah.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
I will communicate that out. That's all I have, thank you.
Since we are sticking to the specific agenda to the special meeting, I will make a motion to adjourn the special meeting at 5:47.
Second?
Been moved and seconded, discussion roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Nice job, Rob.
Kudos.
Okay, good. That's